Boom. Hello, everybody,
What's up, guys?
and welcome to another edition of the Mack Flash 5. My name is Matt. I'm with Scott, with AB, and our guest, my sister, Brittany, is with us
Very
today.
special guest. What's up, Brittany? How are you?
Welcome.
I'm doing well. How are you?
Good.
Our parents are watching this and freaking out right now.
Yeah, we get to be together and a chat together.
How are you guys doing?
Good, pal. Good.
Solid.
Yeah, good
Yeah.
week.
Yeah, it's been all right.
No, go ahead.
Oh no, I was going to say. Yes. When we filmed this yesterday was Star Wars Day, so it was a good day. It was a solid
Today's
day.
Cinco de Mayo. Happy Cinco de Mayo, guys.
Yeah, but not when this airs.
No,
This
Right.
is not Cinco de Mayo right now when you're watching this.
It is not Star Wars Day. It is not Cinco de Mayo. So those are not our categories for our list today. Our today's category is going to be Hitman films, Hitmans and Assassins.
Picked by your sister. Why'd you pick that, Brittany?
I picked that category because it is a long-running category that I started years and years ago. I actually just opened up. I've got like a little movie book. It's a collection of lists of movies, just like
Long before this show started, she just has a journal of her top
whatever.
numbered whatever of anything.
Well,
Great.
Yeah. And so, in the first couple of pages, there's like Assassins,
So you went through Hitman movies and just watched as many as you could?
Super Spies, Hitmen, Cleaners. I already had I had already seen so many up to that point, and I think I had seen one that year that triggered, I
Great.
have to start a list.
Yeah.
I think the one that I saw that year, if I'm just gonna throw one out there just for now, it's not in any of my lists. I don't want to trigger anybody, but the Matador is it's
Chris
one
Brosnan.
in the top. Yeah, I think I saw that movie and I was like, you know what? There's a whole.
So you're the one. So you're the one who saw it.
Yes, yeah. I'm the only one who saw that film. But I feel because it just got me thinking of James Bond, getting James Bond getting washed up. It's just a totally different character for him.
I could have added a James Bond movie, but I didn't.
I
I'm
was biting my tongue.
shocked.
I'm shocked because I watched bits of The Man with the Golden Gun today, and I'm like, I can't wait to talk about The Man with the Golden Gun, and it's not on your list.
No.
I'm shook. 3 minutes in, and
I don't
I'm
even know.
already
I
shook.
don't even know what to do now. The episode is just going to be blowing my mind.
I revisited
now
Man with the Golden Gun today, and I was like, I can't wait to talk about it. Movie rules, and you didn't pick it.
Yeah. Well, we'll just have to do a top 5 of movies titled Gold something.
That's fine.
You could actually do that. Movies with gold in the title. I actually wanted to make a no James Bond rule for the Hitman.
That's true.
Well, because
he's the obvious licensed to kill professional killers. So
and he does so much more. He does so much more
now.
than just the hitman, right? He's not just a hitman. He does all kinds of stuff. He's an agent. So.
Right. But in Man with the Golden Gun, the villain, Francisco Scaramanga, is a hitman.
Well, that's where I'm
played by the man. All right, we're talking about this movie now.
It's cool.
Honorable mention.
Yeah,
I would be open to even hearing about James Bond in a specific role. I was just I'm not going to put too many rules around it, but there's just there's a good pool of really great films that are just nowhere near Bond films that are.
Sure. I have no Bonds. I'm sure there's no Bonds today, so I'm excited to get into it.
Zero Bonds.
Yeah.
Bond movies is its own draft.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And Bond villains and Bond women and all that.
Yeah.
Indeed.
Pets of Bond. Anyways, so it's just for me, it's an ancient category that I keep adding movies to. Even right up to last week, I watched the film Nobody.
That was great.
I added to the list immediately. So it's just that's cool.
That was a very fun one.
Yeah.
Well,
that was a really good. It was a funny movie.
We're moving right along, and before Brittany gives us her number 3, I'll just remind everybody how the show works. After we decide on a topic, we go our separate ways and come back with a list of the top 5 fitting that topic. In this case, Hitman and Assassin films. We'll be talking about 3 of each on our list, and then we'll have 2 honorable mentions totaling our top 5. So Britt, you pick the category. You get to go first. Let's hear it.
Okay. My number 3 is, I wonder if I should show you the cool DVD case or like my screen first. I'll show you the DVD. My number 3 is the film Found Nikita.
Okay. Yay.
1990, written and directed by Luc Besson. It is a French film. I gotta get this like sharing going so that you can see what's up. Cool. So here we go. Here she is.
Excellent.
Written and directed by Luc Besson. I also wanted to like make note of the composers on the films, that at least like my top 3, because I feel like, yeah, they really contribute to the vibe. This film is, I guess I just want to make a special note that it's not to be confused with the 1993 film, which is like an American remake,
Yes.
Point of No Return,
Okay.
directed
girl,
by
Scott,
John
Bridget Fonda.
Badham.
We were just talking about her though.
Bridget Fonda, whose name, which I probably spelled wrong on accident. I'm so sorry. I shouldn't do that. But no, it is not Point of No Return. It is the original script. It's pretty much like almost shot for shot, word for word, the same movie, but just like an American, Point of No Return. Found Nikita is the original French version, starring Anne Perrault, who I only saw in like one other film recently, like from like the early 90s. Not very many films that I've seen her in. And then, yeah, I'm not gonna go through the rest. I am gonna highlight the fact that Jean Reno is also in this film. He plays a cleaner at one point. So like it's sort of like his introduction to a certain role. And then I think I'm just gonna like switch back to you because that's all I needed to show you on that. The plot, I guess I should like go over the plot. It's a French film, remade almost shot for shot into Point of No Return, starring Bridget Fonda, which was like really awful. I had to rewatch it just to like reassert how awful it was in comparison, including the soundtrack. Like I can't, it was brutal. Anyway, so in the film Found Nikita, it's about a very young woman who is mixed up with the wrong crowd. She's a junkie. She's completely wasted, and with her gang of buddies, and they've decided to hit up like a pharmacy to obviously thieve the things that they are looking for to get high and so forth. Their little heist goes wrong when the cops show up. The alarms go off, and everybody starts shooting each other. Nikita is essentially so wasted and in need of like her next hit that she's like about to like pass out on the floor. So she averts like any kind of like crisis of like getting shot. She's completely out of the way, and nobody really knows that she's there because she's just like hanging out, and she ends up violently killing a cop. They all end up killing lots of cops. So she kills a cop. She survives the scene. She's taken in. She's quite unhinged as she's like detoxing in holding, and she gets sentenced to death or life imprisonment. And so, yeah, essentially they inject her. They make her think she's going to die, and she wakes up in an institution where they tell her she has a choice of like actually going to die or becoming an agent, essentially, for this institution. So that's a basic plot coming into the movie. She goes on to be taken under the wing of this certain agent who thinks that she has like a lot of potential based on how she got in there, which is that she's very vulnerable and also very ferocious at the same time. Yeah, and so there's like this tension that builds, this sort of like love tension that kind of happens, and she goes through this transformation, and she ends up like getting out and becoming an agent and falling in love with someone on the outside. So like there's all of this like what's the word, like there's all of these like romantic aspects of the film that are in the mix that keep it like nice and tense and suspenseful and like exciting. I don't want to spoil it, so I'm going to cut it off there. But yeah, there's a bit of a love triangle that happens. She can't seem to balance her life once she's like free from the institution. She doesn't want to work for the institution. She's really, really good at what she does after she gets trained. She is like one of those, as they say, natural born killers, but she eventually discovers that, you know, that that's not what she wants to do for a living and tries to get out. Yeah.
Cool.
I think those were all the notes that I made on it, apart from, yeah, just like music was killer. Scenes are like the fight scenes are notably some of my favorite, not just like fight scenes, but sort of like chase scenes. Yeah, because they're typically like not necessarily like martial art combat. It's a lot of like just guns pointing at each other and running down hallways and that kind of thing. So there's some pretty iconic scenes. Yeah, I think
the garbage chute scene, which they do in the they do in the remake, but the garbage chute scene is a really big one.
Yeah, and like in the remake, it's horrible. In the remake, you basically see like the rocket launch like go into the garbage chute with her.
Yeah,
and you're just like literally like, it was an impossible situation to begin with, but you just made it even more like you couldn't even get the effects right. But no, the original garbage chute scene where she is set out on her first mission. She's tricked into thinking she's just going out for dinner for her birthday for the first time, like out in the free world. And she gets kind of like ambushed by her mentor, and is told like he gives her the weapon that she needs and is told like, this is your first hit. Now you have to go make a hit. And then you have to get yourself out of the situation. And it's a very exciting, tense, insane, awesome thing to see her like sort of outsmart these people that she doesn't know are coming for her from around the corner with a freaking rocket launcher.
Yeah. Cool. I've seen this on a ton of lists. I've never seen it, but I've heard about it. And Point of No Return sounds super familiar. But no, Found Nikita is on like, yeah, that's one like that I've always heard about.
So I saw this before I saw Luc Besson's other one, Leon, and I loved it. I had it on VHS, and I was all about it. And they adapted it into a TV show. I've never seen the TV show, but apparently it's not terrible. It's pretty good. But Luc Besson apparently has a thing for Hitman and assassins because he has quite a few of them. He's got that. He's also involved in the Transporter movies and a bunch of other stuff. So it's like his thing. But yeah, you're right. The composer there, Eric Serra, he works with Luc Besson. He does the music in Fifth Element as well. And,
yeah, he does.
Very cool
they
stuff.
Essentially are partners. They're career partners. He's done the music for all of his films. I looked. He did it for Leon. He did it for, and they're great. They're really like. If you go back, you could honestly listen to the scores, and like with La Femme Nikita, like even when I'm watching it, sometimes it feels like I'm almost listening to like the GoldenEye soundtrack. Like it's just very like
I was gonna say
synthy and like, but like industrial.
It's very different. It's very different. It's very, especially for the time. And like, it's very different.
Yeah, but then where Eric Serra, like a lot of his, there's a lot of really good like violent like strings and that kind of stuff that come in as well, like in Leon and the Fifth Element. And it's just like it's a whole element to the films that like really elevates all of his films. Like it's the same thing with like what's it called, like Tim Burton and.
I wish like Tim Burton. I wish he would stuck to what he did best, because there was a major fall off for Luc Besson and he started making just a whole lot of garbage, and like
I feel like you can't, and that's the thing, you can't have gems forever. There is a fall off.
Sure.
And like you end up getting a ton of money and you just don't know what to do with it. Like
he started to his credit, he started producing movies instead of making them. So yeah. Good choice. Very cool choice.
Direct so many. Thank you. Yeah. So let's move on. Who is next?
Well, I'm next, and I'll just segue by talking about Eric Serra. He did the GoldenEye soundtrack, the score for GoldenEye.
Did he really?
Yeah.
I did not know
Are you
that.
sure? Because
no, I am 100% sure because
I
watched there was a short time where I watched GoldenEye, and then I watched Leon and Fifth Element, and I knew he did the score for all three. They sound exactly the same.
Yeah.
GoldenEye has a very good Luc Besson score. It's a terrible James Bond score.
Oh,
yeah.
Good point.
Yeah, I guess so. Because when I looked it up, I guess I only got to like the N64 hits and I gave up. It was just all the N64 tracks, and that's not the film, but it's the same vibe. Yeah, you just get that like those echoey like warehouse.
It sounds like he's hitting an anvil.
Yes.
Yeah, it's not. It's like a forgery kind of mashup.
Okay, my number 3 is a movie I watched 1,001 times when it aired on TBS. My number 3 is Assassins.
Okay. Yeah.
Awesome.
I am a little bit of a Stallone mark.
Yeah.
I'm a fan of his. I haven't seen all of his movies, and I can't say I'm a huge fan, but I do think I will say he's underrated as an actor. Mm-hmm. For all of his action movies, he's a very funny person as well. This is not exactly one of those movies, but he's certainly on the top one of my lists as favorite actors. Assassins was written by the Wachowskis and directed by Richard Donner, who did Goonies and Superman and Lethal Weapon. Mm-hmm. Stallone and Antonio Banderas play somewhat rival assassins or contract killers. Stallone wants to retire. He wants to get out of the game. And Antonio Banderas is being hired to kill him. And once that kind of happened, Stallone has to, stay alive because he wants to find out who's paying Antonio to kill him. And Julianne Moore gets mixed up in it as well, because I think she's another one of his targets.
Got to mix a girl in there too.
She's another one of his targets, and so Stallone is protecting her to get closer to Antonio. He wants to find out who's killing him, and there's a lot of early days of internet and messaging that really, of course, dates the movie, but captures my interest to no end. I love old computer stuff in movies.
It's definitely fun.
Yeah, it's exactly what it is. Yeah.
Especially when they're trying to make it seem like it's futuristic, like the computer, like check out the secret web or whatever.
Yeah,
it's
the dark web.
Yeah, it's like, oh, that looks like
Julianne Moore plays a hacker in it, and she's almost doing like Keanu Reeves in The Matrix. She's selling off like virus software or whatever.
Awesome.
But it's a lot of shoot 'em ups, and again, it's something you don't want to. I guess I don't know what's the limit on spoilers for endings.
That's fine. This movie's
25 years. It's from 1990s.
It's from 1995.
Yeah,
I just don't
go for it.
Do it.
Which was the heyday of early internet movies, because it was this, The Net, Hackers,
Mission
and
Impossible.
GoldenEye.
And Mission Impossible was 96.
The Net. The Net was like
the Net
before
for sure.
triangulating. They were triangulating.
Yeah,
it's not a massive spoiler. It just turns out the guy who hired Antonio was Stallone's mentor when he was coming up in the ranks as a hitman, and he was contracted to kill him. I guess he survived, and he wants his revenge to kill Stallone.
It's funny. So this movie I watched, I think, once as a kid, because I go through Arnold and Stallone's filmography. But I remember 2 years ago I was in Toronto, and I don't know if we'd come in from the bar and V put it on, and I couldn't get through it. I'm like, this movie makes no sense. I think it had the halfway point. I was like, I don't know, man. I'm just gonna put my headphones on. I was not into it, and I couldn't remember what, but and then I saw it pop up on lists, and I was like, I don't know, Assassins, like that's not my cup of tea. You watch it obviously because it was on TBS a lot, but I missed it. So yeah, this one I remember dusting it off 2 years ago and being like, I can't make heads or tails of this movie. Maybe that was just me though.
I know I definitely have seen it. but I can't remember anything from it. I mean, I
Yeah.
remember zero from it.
Like, there was
I've seen it. Would have definitely have seen it on VHS.
There's
That's how long
two rival
ago it
Hitman
was.
movies. There's a Hitman movie that came out, I think, 2 years after this that I liked way more. I own that one. It might be on somebody's list, but it always reminded me of it, and I like that one way more. So,
What movie was that?
The Jackal.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
The Jackal, I think, is
See-
like way better.
See, I tried to watch that weeks ago.
Oh, I
when
love The
Matt and I
Jackal.
first
Deer
talked
and
about
those, but
this.
yeah. So Assassin's good. I gotta revisit it
Yeah.
because that's a great cast. Banderas's '95 was awesome.
Mm-hmm.
What else did he do in '95?
Well, I mean, like his peak. He did.
Oh, okay.
He would have done like, when was Desperado?
Yeah, that's
It was-
90s for sure.
Yeah.
El Mario. Yeah, go ahead. No, you're number 3, Scott.
Okay.
Scott, yeah.
Yeah, so my number 3, this was
Ooh.
originally going to be an honorable mention, and then I rewatched it for this list, and I'd watched it a couple times in high school when it came out, and probably haven't revisited it for about 10 or 15 years. When I rewatched it, I was like, okay, guys, this movie is so much more than an honorable mention. So my number 3 is going to be 2002's Road to Perdition,
Excellent.
directed by
Is that
Sam.
what that movie's about?
Yeah. So okay, so
I never saw it.
this movie's fantastic. This is Sam Mendes' follow-up to American Beauty. After he won the Oscar, he produced and directed this, and he has an all-star cast. It's Tom Hanks. He's playing a hitman for the Chicago mob run by Paul Newman. Paul Newman has raised Tom Hanks as his own son. Tom Hanks in a really very different role as like a shut off, like kind of little chubbier, kind of mean, kind of miserable father, kind of disconnected because he's an assassin. So he's cold. He's cold to his kids and he's cold to them. Paul Newman is the mob boss, and his birth son is actually Daniel Craig, a very young Daniel Craig. Probably this is one of the first times in an American film to American audiences with an American accent.
With an American accent. Okay. I was going to say, I know much.
Yeah, he's got like
Daniel Craig
the
movie.
American accent in it too. So Daniel Craig, it plays Newman's son. And in it, what happens is he's the hothead. He goes with Hanks. What happens is because of something that happens, he's kind of jealous of Hanks and how much Newman likes him as a son over himself. Things go sideways. Hanks is on the run for killing a rival mob boss. Newman's mob has to turn on him, and he's on the run with his son, Tyler Hoechlin, who's grown up now to be Superman in the Superman and Lois TV show on the CW. And him and Tom Hanks go, and they do not have a good relationship at the start of the movie. His dad is, like I said, it's Tom Hanks in a very different role. He's ice cold. He is not America's dad in this one. He is pretty frosty. And as the movie goes, they are hunted by another rival hitman that the Newman mob has hired, and it's Jude Law. And as they go through there, it's them connecting. It's mainly a story. The big theme of this is fathers and sons and relationships that fathers and sons have. And, Newman's relationship with his adopted father, or Hanks with Newman, and Newman with his own son, and Hanks with his son, and what that all means. And as the film goes through, aesthetically, like the cinematography of this film is unbelievably beautiful. It's all really dim lit. It's all like 1930s Chicago Prohibition era. So you get the nice costumes, you get the nice vehicles, the set design. There's a lot of production value behind it. I feel like it's kind of been forgotten to time. I looked at this. I know Newman, this was one of his last Oscar nominations, but like there was 5, mainly for production set and things like that. But just like really forgotten. It didn't get a picture, and Hanks certainly didn't get an actor nomination for that. But and it came out in July, which I don't really remember it coming out at that time, so it kind of got lost in the shuffle. But as I said, the score is fantastic, everything else too, and ultimately as you get to the third act and mainly where they get to where they wanted to go, and how the story kind of resolves itself, and the arc that Hanks and Hoechlin have as father and son, it's great stuff. And I was going to put this as an honorable mention. It was always on my list. But then in rewatching it, I'm like, no, this movie deserves to be talked about. And for a lot of what it does, and mainly how it nails, it's one of Newman's last live action roles. And, it's something very different that Hanks has never and had, like, I don't know if he will do again. But 2002's Road to Perdition is my number 3.
Nice. I don't know if you know this, but Road to Perdition is based on a graphic novel.
Yeah, right. Okay, I didn't know that.
So that graphic novel is based off a graphic novel, which is the basis for my number one, which I will not spoil it.
Okay,
even
cool.
kind of do it, but the story is based along the thing. It's the graphic novel is an homage set in a different time, and so I did not pick up on it from the first time I read it, and then I had read somewhere about that, and I watched it again. I was like, oh, yeah, it like literally blew my mind. So when we get to my number one, I'll get back to the Road to Perdition. But I love Perdition. I love Road to Perdition when it came out. I saw it in the theater. But then when I watched it again, knowing that it was this other thing that I loved, I was like, I loved it even more. So
that's great. I did not know that. So that's really cool. But yeah.
I haven't really seen
All right.
very many Tom Hanks movies after. Oh my God.
Big.
There's like a certain. Sorry, no. There's like I think like The Terminal.
Okay.
Like there's like a certain period like where I just cut off and
like 2004. Yeah. I don't know. Some of the stuff is like Captain Phillips is more recent.
Toy Story 2.
Okay.
So, anyways, so it just
you wouldn't have seen this then. If you don't see his mainstream stuff, you wouldn't see this. But this is a really good like Tom Hanks as the villain, as a villain asshole. Yeah.
And Tom Hanks as a villain. So
as a hitman for Paul Newman's
raw too. Like
yeah,
really raw.
It really
like,
is.
The stuff with Daniel Craig is rough.
Yeah.
It's really good.
And I really like Daniel Craig before he was.
Yeah, going back to Bond talk, he is none of that. Which is, I remember obviously he was cast, and I remember Munich was his next big role. Like he did Layer Cake after this, and then I know he had Munich came out before Casino Royale, and I remember seeing it and being like, that's the next Bond. And but this, like, you look at
I saw Layer Cake and I said, that's the next Bond.
Well, I mean, they had announced, and then Munich came out, and I literally was like, that is the man they picked. I wasn't calling it. I was just saying, it is an actor named Daniel Craig, and that is
You can feel the audition movies when they're happening, though. That's
okay,
sure.
what do you got? Let's keep this rolling. What do you got for
All
three?
right. So for my number three, back many episodes ago when we did the Cop movie, I talked about a director, and I said it was his second best movie. This is that director's magnum opus. There's a director that, like I said in that episode, that he was talked about a lot back then. He's not talked about as much now, and I think that's criminal. And I'm talking about John Woo, and I'm talking about his magnum opus, which is 1989's The Killer, starring Chow Yun-fat. The Killer, again, has all of the John Woo things in it. You have doves, you have guys pointing guns at each other, not once, but a couple times. Got to throw all those in there.
Yeah, it's good stuff.
And so The Killer is about, and it will, as we go through my list, there's a running theme throughout it, and it is guys with codes. They have these codes that they live by, and so the killer, who's on Young, is he is a hitman for hire, and he's hired by the he works for the Hong Kong Triad, and so he's going to do one last hit, and during his one last hit at the nightclub, he blinds the nightclub singer Jenny, blinds her, and so when the job is over, he feels terrible about it, and so he says, "I'm going to take care of her. I'm going to take on one more hit to pay for her eye transplant." And so she kind of like starts like walking her home, protecting her, and they kind of start falling in love. So he goes to do one last hit for the Hong Kong Triad. They set him up, and because they're like, okay, well, you're going to quit on us, we're going to take you out. So they set him up, and so things go bad, and this child in the middle of it gets hurt, and so he ends up taking the child. And like I said, he has a code, so there's no women, no kids kind of thing with the that other killers have in other movies. So he brings the kid to the hospital, and on that there's two detectives. The main one, played by Danny Lee, who's Li Ying. He follows him to the hospital, sees him taking care of this kid, making sure that he's cared for, and that like intrigues him, right? Because he's thinking he's trying to track this killer down, but then he's having trouble bringing that to terms, right? There's this killer who's taking care of this child and cares about this child, and so he escapes that. The killer escapes from the hospital, escapes from the police, and so they decide that they're going to try and set him up, the cops, by following him to the singer's house. And so there's a great scene where the killer on Young is visiting with Jenny, and the detective comes in, and the killer wants to defuse it, and so he tells him that it's his old buddy. And there's this like really kind of like funny scene where they're like pretending old buddies, and so they have nicknames for each other. He calls him, in the Chinese, it's like baby or kid, and then he calls him the killer shrimp head. But if you watch the dubbed, it's I like watching the dub because the detective calls him Mickey Mouse and he calls him Dumbo, and so that's how they refer to each other for the rest of the movie. And we're like, oh, watch out for that thing, Mickey Mouse, and we're like, no, Dumbo, look out. And they're like, it's pretty funny. But anyway, an attack happens. They go on. All three of them go on the run. Chow Yun-fat wants to get his money from the main crime boss, so he wipes out a bunch of dudes, tries to get his money back, and there's like basically it culminates into this crazy action sequence in this warehouse, where they bring out basically bring the entire Hong Kong triad to go up against the three of them, and they become friends, right? Mickey Mouse and Dumbo become friends. And I won't spoil the ending, but the ending, because the ending is pretty great. But there's this just crazy action scenes. For my money, it's one of the top 5 action movies of all time, in true John Woo fashion. Just the crazy slow-mos, the awesome camera tricks. It's unbelievable. So 1989 is The Killer.
Cool. That's great. I heard a lot of that's unbelievable. Obviously, it's the reputation. I haven't seen it, but the Chow Yun-fat reputation, the John Woo reputation. He came to America and ran the 90s after that, into the early 2000s. So
that's it. I mean, he basically
based off this.
Coming off of this is he got the gigantic run I mean, up until recently, he was still making movies in America based on this, and it's worth it. This literally has everything you want in an action movie. It's got heart, it's got great characters, and mainly a whole ton of great action. So, yeah, that's my number 3.
I have not seen it.
I've also not seen it.
Oh man. Okay.
Yeah.
I was gonna say, I don't know if it's streaming anywhere, but I watched my Blu-ray. I've got
that's probably the show's recommendation of the night.
Yeah, I cannot. I cannot recommend it enough. It is fantastic.
All right, Britt.
Number
2.
Number 2. Okay, I hope I don't butcher this. I just finished watching it, so I feel like there's some random notes that are fresh in my mind, but I want to stick to my guns. Oh, the puns, they're coming, you guys. Okay. My number 2 is another written and directed by Luc Besson, Leon the Professional, which was made in, I believe it was 93?
94. Yeah.
94. This screenplay was a gift from Luc to Jean Reno after the filming of Nikita. He had this small role as a cleaner who comes into a situation where he has to obviously fix things that and this is in the film Nikita, where his role is very iconic, but it's very short-lived at the same time, and there's a sort of chance that he gets shot up. The chances are he's dead, but there's the chance that this is a continuation of the character. There's also a hard chance that this is just a brand new person. And the film doesn't just center around Leon, the professional killer. It also, I guess I'll like share my screen. It also centers around himself and, oh, I guess,
Just there, you just have to click next slide.
Oh, okay. Click next slide. There he is, number 2, Leon the Professional, 94. Again, music by Eric Serra, and then starring Jean Reno as the professional at the professional, and Natalie Portman, and Gary Oldman is in this film.
Gary Oldman is outstanding. I mean,
a very young
Gary Oldman in this movie is like the ultimate supporting, like scene-stealing megastar in this movie. He is dynamite.
He is unhinged.
Yeah,
Stansfield, love Stansfield.
Exactly, Stansfield as Gary Oldman is. He gets very much in other characters' faces, and he's immediately just that guy that you just don't want to be effing with. And then, of course, Luc Besson decided to use him again as a villain in The Fifth Element, like right after this. So
that's right.
Why not? He's a genius.
He's also like a very unique villain in that. Gary Oldman's amazing, but he always has a different take on it. But yeah, he's obviously unbelievable in this. But and like Natalie Portman's first role, and she's unbelievable as Matilda.
Yes. Okay. Yeah. I guess I'm just gonna like fly through the plot. It centers around the relationship between a professional killer living in Little Italy, New York, and a young girl recently orphaned by the villain Gary Oldman. And they essentially, bond, make this unusual, borderline problematic friendship with each other. He very much takes her under his wing. As her family was essentially just shot up. Her entire family was just shot up after it wasn't even a full-on drug deal gone wrong. Her dad was just, I don't know what you call that. Her dad was just sketchy.
He was skimming. He's skimming.
He was skimming. So he had it coming, and she makes a getaway. She essentially just walks to the apartment next door to hers, and it just happens to be this professional killer. On a whim, he decides to take her in. He totes her around to she convinces him to just hang out with her and take her to all of these jobs. They have a sit-down discussion about how she's eventually going to need to be taking revenge on the guys that did this to her family, which is a very essential moment between them. And she gets the upper hand of sort of convincing him to just bring her on all of his jobs and teach her how to hit. And it's really cute. He gives her a sniper rifle with paintballs so she can practice on targets without actually killing anybody. And then as soon as she turns her back, he's there to actually finish the job. And I guess I don't want to go too crazy and spoil it. You kind of have to see it. It's got a lot of really good suspense. It's got a lot of those relationship elements that I think are essential for me to keep one of these films in my list for so long. So there's that sense of, I don't want to say it's a romantic relationship, but there's that in 1994,
she wants it to be.
I was a young girl with crushes on boys. You know what I mean? So it's just a relatable era to be kind of boy crazy, and this just happens to be the boy that is in her life right now.
That's right.
And so that's as far as it goes in the film.
Yeah, it's very innocent. Yeah, very interesting.
It's a very endearing relationship. Yeah. And
but
she learns. She's a quick learner. She's a good student. That's what it comes down to. Is he's able to teach her the things that he's smart doing because he's not actually very intellectually educated. He probably has the same or lesser education by the school system than Matilda does, the character Matilda played by Natalie Portman. So there's this sort of balance in their characters in terms of maturity. And she just acquires all of these skills through him to do the thing that she needs to do. And yeah, I guess like the running theme for me in like all of my films that you're going to see is going to be like this one, like the romantic side, and also just this sort of, I feel like it's an overarching for a lot of assassins, is like you don't become an assassin. You're not just born an assassin. You can be born a killer per se, but most assassins are made and they have a maker. Most assassins have some sort of a mentor. And even if it's just like this weird secret quick conversation they have in the corner of the film, like really quick, there is always like that background character that they have that they need to like reference to. Yeah, so I just feel like that's going to be like the connecting dot. And so yeah, for like Leon and Matilda, it's very much a sort of like passing of the torch of just teaching her everything that he knows. And as sort of a spoiler, she's able to go on and, you know, get a full real, like her happy ending is that she gets to like learn how to be a hitman and then enter the education system and then get a full like education as like a normal person. So yeah, there's that sort of open ending, which I really love as well, where you kind of, you don't really know what happens to her. Is she done with the work, or does she end up going back to the work?
Natalie Portman said she wants to do a sequel forever. I think that's going to be one of the long. That's one of like the long Hollywood, you know, movies that are long talked about. But she and Luc Besson, whether one wants to or not, but I believe that they've said that they've been working or interested or whatever else. But yeah, that's
Matilda,
like again,
Matilda the Professional. That
would be great. It writes itself. But no, that's a great one. That movie itself, it's the same thing as you said. It's got the heart. It's got the great character development, and it's a great choice. I have only seen it about twice, maybe. I'm glad it's on your list. It might come up on other ones too. It's the best. Yeah. It's the best possible thing you can do when you think about Hitman movies, because Hitman, it's like Hitman learns to love, Robot learns to love. Anything like that makes for a good story. Like Frankenstein, that's kind of what he becomes. Yes. He's Frankenstein's monster who now learns to love. And in Frankenstein, he kills the little girl. In this one, he raises the little girl, and that makes for good cinema. So.
Well, like you said, it's like it's not even that he raises her, because she's kind of taking care of him as well. Like she goes and gets the groceries and gets his precious milk. Always got to have his milk.
Yeah, that's basically her ticket to get through the door in the first place.
That's
like,
right.
Even if you're not going to let me in to save my life, like I have your 2 quarts of milk.
That's right.
Like I went to the store for you at least. So yeah.
If you watch, there's the director's cut, which I just watched recently. Like you said, the relationship is problematic. There's a lot more problematic stuff to the relationship in the director's cut, and so I was kind of glad that a lot of that got cut. There's some really cool scenes as far as him tutoring her. There's a lot more jobs that they go on in the director's cut, which is really cool. But then there's also like a lot more sketchy thing where she is basically like throwing herself at him constantly throughout the movie. And he's like pushing her away, like, no, this is not right. This is not right. Like, and so like, I'm kind of glad that it's just at the right level where it is in the like the theatrical cut, where it's just borderline. It's right there where it's borderline inappropriate, but it never tips the scale into
it's like one character. Well, firstly, like, she's at a maturity level where it's just she's acting inappropriately because like she just doesn't know, but at least the other character has like the boundaries. Like the boundaries are there.
Absolutely.
And there's other things that like I think are more problematic than that. Like you see her sitting at a table drinking a glass of champagne at one point in the film,
smoking
also,
all the time.
She's killing
You're
people.
A baby.
And I'm sure there's conversations to be had there, but like there's certainly for me no problem. The film is 100% for entertainment and not at all to be like
emulated for sure. Awesome.
Well, to jump onto that exact topic there, the relationship between the characters is somewhat autobiographical for Luc Besson.
Yeah,
he met his.
I didn't want to go there. I didn't want to go there.
I also have that little fact written down as well. Yeah,
he met his second wife when he was 31 and she was 15.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, it took a lot of fire for that.
If you watch the behind the scenes for Leon, they go over like the dinner that they had together when they presented the script to Jean Reno, and that was them in their partnership together. And she has she's obviously like in her 30s, like at this point,
Mhm.
in the behind the scenes like testimonials, or 20s or 30s, right? And she's talking about how she had fallen. She's giving her perspective of how like she fell in love with Luke when she was very young,
Mhm.
and like it comes kind of like full circle. She's even in the film. She plays a very small role at the very beginning of Leon. She like the gangster's girlfriend, and she plays. I'm pretty sure she plays like Plava Laguna in the Fifth
Yes,
Element.
that is her.
Really? I
Yep.
did not know
Yeah,
that.
that's
That's
Luc
interesting.
Besson's, like that was his partner at the time. I don't know if they're still together, but yeah,
Cool.
No,
like,
they're not,
the
because
French, it's a French thing. It's not
because he took up with Mila Jovovich while
Yeah,
they were
that's right.
filming the Fifth Element.
Fifth Element. That's right. Scandal.
Yeah.
Married her, and then he's on his fourth wife now.
I didn't know he. Oh my goodness!
Yeah.
Yeah. Luc Besson gets around.
I didn't know he's. Yeah, that's a bit of a score there. Mila, she's gorgeous, an action hero.
Okay, we're gonna do
Yes,
my
we'll
number
pass it on.
2 is a movie got mentioned before. I enjoyed it. I think I've only seen it twice, but I really did enjoy it. It's a very funny movie. Colin Farrell won a Golden Globe for it. In Bruges
There you
is
go.
my number 2.
Awesome.
Colin
Hilarious.
Farrell plays a hitman, obviously, as part of our story, or our list here. He's tasked with killing a priest, I believe, and in the course of that, accidentally shoots a child.
Mm.
And his boss here, played by Ralph Fiennes, orders him and his buddy, played by Brendan Gleeson. He tells Brendan Gleeson, take Farrell out for a vacation, take him to Bruges, and then wait for further instructions. The further instructions come in which Ralph Fiennes orders Gleeson to kill Colin Farrell.
Mhm.
And he's like, why would you order that? If you're going to kill him, why'd you have me take him on a vacation? It's like, well, Bruges is pretty to look at. I mean, it's like a fairyland.
Yeah.
That's one of the quotes that always stuck with me. It's like a fairyland. Gleason eventually tells him that, and is hilarious. He's like, he wanted me to send you here so you have one nice last day before you die. And Farrell's like, in Bruges, not the Barbados. I mean, come on. Eventually, I think Gleason says no, and that so Ralph Fiennes is like, fine, I'll do it myself. Comes down to Bruges to try to kill both of them, I think, or if I remember correctly, rather, and loses. He messes up Gleason enough that in order to warn Colin Farrell, he's running down the stairs of a tall tower, and he's like, I have to catch up to him. So he jumps off, killing himself, essentially warning Colin Farrell, you have to run. The reason they're after him is because he accidentally shot that kid. That's against the rules. No women, no kids.
Right.
I mean, it's a common thread for all of these films. During their stay in Bruges, there's a film being made in which, and we get to meet, give me his name, from Game of Thrones.
Peter Dinklage.
Peter Dinklage.
Yeah.
Yes, he's in the movie, and he becomes friends with Colin Farrell, and they hang out a couple of times in the movie. Ralph Fiennes is chasing Colin Farrell down the square, shoots at him, hits Peter Dinklage, who's dressed as a child because he plays like an extra, or he's a stand-in for a kid.
Mm-hmm.
He sees that he says, I think Farrell does get shot. He does get shot, but
He gets like wounded. Or
Ralph Fiennes sees that he shot a kid, and he says to himself, rules are rules, and then pops one in his own head. And that's pretty much how the movie ends. Colin Farrell won a Golden Globe for Best Comedy Actor, even though all of that might have sounded kind of gruesome. It is a very funny movie. In Bruges is my number 2.
Nice.
Great. No, I thought it would be on his. I should have figured it would be on yours. That's a classic Matt pick. This is a great time in Colin Farrell's career because he was like mid 2000s, like megastar Colin Farrell. And Miami Vice comes out, big flop, and then he kind of takes a little bit of time, like Alexander, big flop. And then he kind of does a little bit of like small bit work. And I remember around the same time he had like this, and Seven Psychopaths, and then he popped up in like Horrible Bosses, and then he became like kind of character actor, crazy film role, Colin Farrell, and you're like, he reinvented himself, kind of like what Jude Law did a little bit too around like Don Hemingway time, and you're just like, oh, this dude has like the skills and he can like put it all together again. So he like took out from like the main superstardom and focused more on like great scripts. And he's like totally reinvented himself in an actor. And it's right around this time when he became like he got rid of the leading man stuff and became like an actual like great actor. So that's a great pick.
For sure. Yeah, I had a buddy who's obsessed with this movie, and he tried to get me to watch it for the longest time. And it was one of those things where I got so sick of hearing it that I was just like, it became an annoyance where I was like, I hate this movie and I haven't even seen it yet. And so I finally watched it, and it's great. It is a great film, but like, it was one of those things where it was like this movie that's pushed on you for so long, and I'm just like, it could never live up to the hype. But it is great. It's a great film, but it was just like, that was what was one for me. It was like, oh man, Will Capico, you ruined In Bruges for me. No, I'm just kidding. Throwing name dropping. Scott, what do you got?
Okay.
Number 2.
Number 2 is going to be a big movie here, guys. It was a big movie when I was in high school. I come back, I revisit it and the franchise periodically. Now, I like the other films, certainly the second and the third, much more than the first one. But for the Hitman aspect of it, my number 2 is going to be The Bourne Identity.
Yes.
2009 Doug Liman film. Absolutely, man. So like I said, the fourth one with Renner, I'm going to go back to a little more. I think that got a wrong opinion of it. The fifth one is quite a slog, and I was really upset when they came back for Jason Bourne. Of these, Supremacy and Ultimatum, I think, are better films. I think Supremacy is one of my favorite sequels of all time, and I might have used that on the sequels list, or if I didn't, it was on it. But for the main reason of the Hitman aspect, I'm going to stick by Bourne Identity because the Hitman-ness is a central figure, like plot to this film. And in it, he plays CIA's hitman who's tasked with murdering Wambosi, who's a Nigerian warlord, dictator. And in it, he wakes up, no memory. Most of the people have seen it. This is a monster film and a monster franchise. And it catapulted Matt Damon from, the character actor stuff. He was doing Good Will Hunting, All the Pretty Horses, Talented Mr. Ripley, and
he was a Streisand.
Legend of Bagger Vance. He was rock. Yeah, we used to think he was a bit of Streisand. He's rocking his shit in this movie. Now, that being said, he was not the first choice, but he was ultimately the best choice. And this film, like I said, he's a hitman who the job goes wrong. He has no memory, and the CIA has to cover their mistake by sending other hitmen to wipe him out. It is quintessentially a Hitman movie. The second and the third become more spy films. This one, it is Hitman through and through. So in it, he's filling in gaps of his memory. He teams up with Franco Patante, and they go on the adventure together. And like I said, as it comes, Brian Cox and Chris Cooper play his mentors and his bosses at the CIA. And they kind of turn, and they need to cover their ass and their tracks, and they showcase Clive Owen to hunt them. And there's a big scene in the third act for Clive Owen. Anytime I go for a walk too, when I see like corn stalks and those, I always think of this scene, so it's kind of funny. So that's one movie that stuck with me. But mainly for the the hand-to-hand combat and the stuff is great. The car chase scene is great. The score is incredible. What's really fun is when you watch a movie like this, you take it for more than it actually is. And the action is nice, but it's almost like Doug Liman and Matt Damon told the studio, they were going to make an action film. And then inside of the action film, they kind of make like Before Sunrise. And it's almost a love story of him and Patante. So it's like Before Sunrise with like an action coat of paint, and that's great. So for this film and for the franchise that it spawned, and we've all seen it, we all know how this reinvented the genre. It came out after Mission Impossible films and after Bond films. This movie and its sequel came out, raised the game to which those franchises had to then alter themselves to play catch up to what Bourne did. So for sure. Bourne really reinvented himself at a perfect time at the turn of the century. So like I said, for being a Hitman movie, for the mystery, for the spyness, and then the great romantic elements and the fact of, the franchise that it did launch, that it is one of my favorite franchises. The first three are incredible, and I commend them for trying the spin-off, but still tying it to that universe was kind of the wrong decision.
Mhm.
But for everything that it started, my number 2 is going to be 2001's Bourne Identity.
Yeah. Just a couple things. One, I was talking to my dad a few days ago. This is his number 1.
That's right.
Yeah.
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 Favorite movie ever?
And then anything with
Hitman.
Tom Cruise in
Oh,
it is
okay.
number 2.
Yeah. Well, my Tom Cruise movie would have been my number 1, but I've used that one on another list.
Oh,
Yeah.
that's right. Yes, Collateral.
That by far, by miles, would be my number 1.
That
on this
that was the first one that I watched
Yeah.
when I was like,
Collateral's in my
this.
top 5 favorite
I
movies
need
ever.
to brush up on this film.
Mhm.
And yeah, you mentioned how it changed the game in terms of action movies, and that's a clear influence on James Bond for sure, because the producers of James Bond saw this and they said,
Yeah,
we need to make
gritty
him look like
hand-to-hand
that.
combat.
He needs to be almost emotionless, cold killer.
Mhm.
Mhm.
And when I saw this movie, I saw Clive Owen and I said, that's the next James Bond.
Yeah, I mean, that's
Probably should have been.
a lot of people had that, and I remember he either didn't get it or that shoot 'em up movie scared them off when he played like
Wow.
the really goof. I don't know if that was in response to not getting it, or if they saw that movie and were like, I don't know, or
What a
just kinda-
goofball.
I'm kind of glad, because if that had happened, he might not have made Children of Men, and that
And
Yeah, I don't know
if he
if
hadn't
he
made
came out
Children of
before.
Men, if we hadn't made Children of Men, I don't know where I'd be today.
Yeah, it's 06, so maybe the same
Or
year as Casino Royale,
closer.
so who knows?
Yeah.
Oh, he was the man, but yeah.
Sin
So,
City.
and I always think of that scene and him in it, and it's just fine. Yeah, it's great. And Cooper is phenomenal. He's off his Oscar in adaptation, goes to do this. Cox, who's got his third life as a megastar now. It's fun to go back.
Brian Cox is amazing.
He chooses the scenery in that.
Yeah.
And then in 2, they add who comes in is Pamela Landy. Is it Ann Archer? Who is it?
No,
And
it's
then in and then in 3 they add Strathayan, and in 2 it's Joan Allen. That's who.
Joan.
it is.
I was just
So,
gonna say Joan. Yeah.
Cool. Awesome. Okay, number 2, baby.
All right, number 2. This is from another director I've brought up before that I love, and this is a movie I thought you would have guessed for me, Scott, but it's a little more obscure. It is from 1999. It's from Jim Jarmusch, and it is Ghost Dog with the Samurai.
I've never heard of this.
You've never heard of this movie?
No.
Oh,
No, I've heard
okay.
of Ghost Dad.
Oh no. Okay.
Yes. Oh, when are we doing top 5 Ghost Dad movies?
Honestly,
Never.
I also thought Ghost Dad, no.
Oh.
I honestly thought that, I was going to have heard of it because you said Jim Jarmusch, and this came out of left field. I've never heard of this.
No, I'm mad if you heard of this movie.
I've seen the cover and I'm always like, is that Forrest Whitaker? And always
It is
surprised.
100% Forrest Whitaker. Okay, so Ghost Dog with the Samurai is about Forrest Whitaker, who is a hitman for the mafia. And the reason why he was a hitman for the mafia is because when he was a young child, one of the guys, Louis, saves his life. And so he basically pledges his life to Louis and does everything that Louis wants to. He doesn't work for the mob, he works for Louis. And so here he is reading Hagakure, which is this book here, The Secrets of the Samurai. And he throughout the movie that he reads excerpts from that, and it shows it on the screen, excerpts from it, and it's basically lays out the Bushido way, and he lives by the Bushido way, the way of the samurai. And so in the way of the samurai is indentured to a master, and so he sees Louis as being his master and is willing to live his life. And
this is 99. I'm sorry, I'm just trying to place. Okay, cool.
And so he goes around making these hits for the mob, and so he also raises pigeons. You can see in the background he's got a pigeon coop, and so he only communicates through carrier pigeons. So he has these carrier pigeons, and that's how when they need a hit, they send a carrier pigeon to him, and he gets the note and finds out who he has to kill. And so the mob get him to set up this guy, or get him to go to kill this guy who it turns out is a made man. And so the mobsters, in order to cover their tracks, decide that they want to take out the ghost dog. And so people in the neighborhood refer to him as Ghost Dog. They were like, okay, well, we need to take out Ghost Dog. And Louis is torn because Louis is basically known him since he was a boy, loves him. But he realizes that if he doesn't, that he's going to get killed instead, because they need a fall guy. They need a scapegoat. And so they sent all these guys to try and take him out. And he ends up killing a bunch of them. But throughout it, there's a great story where he basically is living a loner life. He's almost homeless, where he lives up at the rooftop of this building. And he only has one friend, and his one friend runs an ice cream truck. And he is French. He only speaks French, and his name is Raymond. And Raymond only speaks French. Ghost Dog does not speak French, and so they don't communicate. But at the same time, they do communicate, and they know and like respect each other. And so there's another plot point with a little girl who's from the neighborhood who Ghost Dog befriends, and he gives her books. He gives her Rashomon, which is a Japanese novel, which was made into a movie by Akira Kurosawa. It's a great book. And so they bond through their love of reading. And so she's inspired to look into these books. He goes out to kill this guy who's sleeping with the boss's daughter. And she ends up being there and witnesses him killing this guy. And so he gives her a book as well. He gives her the Hagukari. And she's later on in the movie, she's reading it, and so they kind of have a moment too where they're bond over reading as well. And I won't spoil the ending. The ending's really great, but it's also very frustrating if you don't understand the whole dynamic of like how he lives his life. He lives by this code, the code of the samurai. And so when you get to the ending and what happens, you're like, oh man, that's ridiculous. Why did that happen? But that's how he lives his life. He lives his life based off this ancient way of life of these samurai. And in true Jim Jarmusch fashion, music plays heavily on it, and the soundtrack is all made by the RZA, who actually appears in the film in a really cheesy scene. When this scene happens, I'm just like, oh, RZA, this is so cheesy.
RZA and Samurai go peanut butter and jelly,
hand in hand. It's
yeah.
match made in heaven. That's
36
literally
chambers.
That's literally how I found out about this movie. Was I was like, oh, it's all Wu-Tang Clan and the RZA doing the soundtrack. Let me check out this movie.
Yeah.
And blown away. And so, like I said, Jim Jarmusch has a great feel. One of the things I love about Jim Jarmusch is his relationship to music throughout the movie, and how it plays into the movie. And this is another great soundtrack for him, and it works. Like, it really works. Obviously, the whole thing of because Wu-Tang uses samurai stuff in their music, and it's kind of very Japanese influenced beats. It's match made in heaven. So that's my number 2 is Ghost Dog, Way of the Samurai.
Ooh.
I wonder if, like, I'm just throwing this out there, but I wonder if, like, Jim Jarmusch was just like making movies and the RZA was like, hey,
They probably met at some party.
Idea.
I think
you want to do this samurai thing, because I just feel like it just like it just seems.
You're probably right. Jim Jarmusch is one of those guys where he makes all kinds of different things. Like he makes westerns and vampire movies, and like his newest one is a zombie movie, and like he has like rock and roll movies. He has like gangster movies. Like he's somebody who isn't tied down to one sort of thing. Like he just kind of makes his own movies. They're all his style, right? But he's very interested in a lot of different stuff, and interjects a lot of different stuff. Like when you look at this on paper, right? It sounds super cheesy, but everything is taken so seriously that, like, when you mash up all these different things, it sounds so cheeseball, but then it really works. It really comes together.
Awesome.
So,
Man.
Yeah, no,
Yeah.
I would watch it for sure.
I would another
It's-
one. I
As soon
highly
as you
recommend you
said
guys.
like the pigeon coop, like I was like, I may have seen this and I just don't remember
There you go.
because like I'm remembering, the sword in the coop.
There you go.
So that will bring us to our honorable mentions.
Oh, yeah.
Yes. Sweet.
Britt, you said, do you have things for it?
Yeah, I just threw like I didn't go all out. I just threw like a couple posters
just
next to each other. Oh, I didn't animate them, so they're just there. So I guess do I tell you both at the same time?
Sure.
Yeah, that's fine.
Sure.
Yeah, that's
Okay,
all we do
cool.
is just really say the names and then we just breeze through.
Right. Okay. So because my picks were like my top 3 picks, they all had like a lot of like central themes. I really wanted to veer off into some of my more particular, I guess, just likings of other sorts of assassin movies. Just because, I feel like it could very, very quickly get to be like too many fight scenes, too many chase scenes, like way too much noise, that kind of stuff. And it does come down to like the writing and like the casting. And like, of course, like the guns, like the fewer guns you have, the more appreciation. Not that I have like a huge, I'm not a gun crazy person. It's just in the movies, they're like they're a special part of like the whole genre. So,
Sure.
so, okay. And I guess another running theme between the two would be a bit of an American style.
Cool.
And of course,
Great.
like, I couldn't get these two guys together in the same movie, but in 2 movies separately from one another.
I love that you picked them and this and these two. That's awesome.
Yeah, I watched Killing Them Softly earlier today. That film I actually saw in theaters alone. I'm pretty sure I was living in Toronto at the time, so like I didn't have any friends. I just was going to see movies alone. And I remember laughing so hard. Like it's just, I find it like that's the best thing when you can just sit in a movie theater full of strangers without your friends and just be laughing through the entire movie without like a care in the world. Because just the writing and the banter between the characters in Killing Them Softly, and it's hilarious. I don't want to go on forever, but like the sawed-off shotgun is the thing that's like the main thing that really got me going in that film. And then of course, The American, which centers around George Clooney and like his. It's about a job, but like he's not doing the job.
Mm-hmm.
He's creating a weapon, and like there's just this sort of like there's a whole nother vibe to it because he's just essentially what's the word for he's a consultant. He's more of a consultant and he's building a weapon for someone else's job, and you kind of like spoiler alert and figure out that he's the job. So anyways, those are my 2 honorable mentions: Clooney and Pitt, Americans with guns.
It's funny
who,
that
like, know how to handle their shit.
The American, it's very European feeling because it's directed by Anton Corbijn, who does a lot of music videos. Like he's did a lot of Depeche Mode videos and stuff like that, and so like it feels really different. So I remember seeing it at the theater, and people were not into it because they were expecting this fast-paced like action thing, and it's not at all.
That's precisely why I like it, is because you can actually sit and watch it like late at night with the volume turned up, and like there's only a couple moments where you're just like, oh shit, like maybe I need to turn that down. Like I live in close quarters with other people, so like I sometimes need to keep the volume down.
Mm-hmm.
But like so in that sense, it's just a very, for a hitman like assassin film, it's very just calm and quiet.
Yeah.
And it still keeps up the suspense, and there is the little tinge of like romance, and you get that really lonely lifestyle, that lonely vibe of like what it's like to be a hitman at the end of like his career.
For sure.
Yeah, I love both films. Amazing. Thank you for listening to my honorable mention.
My honorable mentions include The Iceman.
Very good.
Great. Chris Evans is awesome in this movie.
I was gonna say, Scott, if Scott had not seen this movie, he has to go
I saw
watch
this
it
movie.
right
Yeah.
now. That's Michael Shannon. He plays a hitman, and then like Scott said, Chris Evans is amazing. He's another hitman who
Does he have the
drives
ice
around
cream
in
truck?
an ice cream truck.
Yeah.
As
What?
his cover, yeah.
This is a true
Yeah.
story.
Chris Evans?
Yeah.
Yeah, Chris Evans has long hair and a mustache.
Yeah.
Okay.
They
You guys
team
keep
up, and
talking.
this
I'm
is
gonna
this
go
is an
find the
absolute true
movie.
story.
Be back after I watch it.
And Real Time.
Oh, I don't know that one. What's that?
Oh, I've seen this
This,
poster.
this just feels like
Give me
CanCon.
20
This is
seconds.
100% Canada.
It is absolutely CanCon. It takes place in Hamilton.
Oh man, amazing.
Oh.
Jay Baruchel is a degenerate gambler who owes the mob like $60,000 or whatever. So they send Randy Quaid to go kill him. Randy Quaid takes him out. It's called Real Time, and it's done in real time because he takes him out for an hour. And he's like, it's time to go say goodbye to whoever you got to say goodbye to. And they drive around Hamilton for an hour.
That's wild.
What
and
year
then
is
I
this? Quaid
won't
looks
spoil
good
the
here.
ending, but
Yeah, I
in
was
case
like,
you
I
guys
didn't
haven't
even
seen it.
recognize. If that didn't say Randy Quaid at the top, I would not recognize that.
I
as
wouldn't know
Randy
who that
Quaid.
is, but what year is this? This is like probably 2012, 13?
Might be
Yeah.
a little bit earlier.
Probably Goon Time or whatever.
Wow.
Oh yeah, no, earlier. Like
It's,
it feels
it's
like oh,
previous to Goon for sure.
Yeah.
Wow. Okay.
Cool.
Scott.
Okay, I got two big ones, guys.
All right.
Okay, so my number 5, Hitman Movies. I had to think a little outside of the box, but I went with the massive Captain America, the Winter Soldier. The Hitman being the titular Winter Soldier character who is put to work by Robert Redford. Redford, one of my all-time favorites in the MCU.
Hail
Hydra. Don't even say. He, like I said, this is quintessentially a Hitman movie. He has shaped the destiny of the world, and Redford needs him to do it for Hydra one more time. And my number 4, the ultimate, big budget at the time, really ahead of its time, hit job, The Terminator from 1984.
Yes, absolutely.
Quintessentially a Hitman movie.
Awesome.
the time-bending Hitman
I've
film.
used T2 on this another list, multiple lists before too. But like I said, as far as the hit, what a great concept! Coming back from the future to kill the world savior's mother before he could, causing him to never save the world. Unbelievable. It's a very simple. T2 is incredible in every single way. It's bigger. It's more bombastic. This is a horror hitman stalking film. It's a total different film from T2, and for the fact of the hitmanness of it, and I got the 3 there. There are other people in it, but those 3 are in every single scene of this movie. Yep. They do a ton of lifting equally across the board, making it, kind of a trifecta. And just like I said, the hitman aspects, the hitman, the mark, and the hero, and it makes for a perfect hitman film. So my 2 are the Winter Soldier and the Terminator.
Very cool. All right, we'll go to my 2. My number 5 is the very first Criterion DVD I ever bought. I bought it at a secondhand store. It's Le Samurai, and so I watched. I was like, oh, the Samurai. What's this all about? And so I was kind of disappointed when I watched it, because I was super young. I don't remember how old I was, but it's from 1967, directed by Jean-Pierre Melville, who was a very famous French director. So when I got it home, I turned it on and it was French. I was like, what the heck? Not de Le Samurai. But it is
still, I'm also thinking, what the heck right now? I'm just like, but of course.
It stars Alain Delon, who is basically like the French Tom Cruise at the time, like most handsome man in France, and all of French cinema. Played a ton of roles in French cinema. He plays a hitman who lives by this certain code, but it's not a moral code. It's just he has this way of doing certain things, and that ends up tripping him up and getting him like sought after by the police because he keeps doing the same things the same way all the time. That's why it's called Le Samurai. He's looking super cool in this. Like, you want to talk about like one of the coolest looking people in all of cinema. It's Alain Delon as the Samurai, and Leon, which we've already talked about, is my number 4.
Well, those are really cool posters. Yeah.
Yeah, man, I found that. And
some of the poster work for these like cult films are like really
Like look at this one, like Lenez, the nose. I call it referred to as the nose. But that was pretty funny. But anyway, that's my honorable mentions.
Really cool. Sweet.
So
Cool. Bring us home.
Yep, that brings us to our number ones.
Brittany, what's your one?
Okay, my number one is, I mean, I could hold up the thing. This I can't. This is because what I have, it's two. It's two that have tied for one. They're two of the same series film.
Yes, starring, and she's already cheating on this game.
I'm totally cheating. I'm totally prepared to pick one of them if I have to.
No, that's fine.
So good.
However, they kind of like they're back to back. What's it called? Double feature.
Okay.
In my opinion, anyways. So I guess I will pull it up here. Kill Bill.
Oh, great.
It's my
Okay.
number
Yeah.
Okay,
one.
that's acceptable.
This is
I
more
feel
than
like-
acceptable. That's
And
phenomenal.
volume
Yes.
1 and 2, it's just, yeah. I mean, there's the characters that I would focus on, which are Bill and the Bride, but it is a film about many assassins
Mhm.
course.
who have
Deadly
many
Viper
different.
Assassination Squad.
That's right.
Yeah, it's about exactly. It's not just about her, it's about the whole squad, and everybody has like their own story, and everybody gets their own like screen time, and you kind of have to pick and choose who your favorite is if it's not the star of the film. So Kill Bill, volumes 1 and 2 came out in 2003, 2004, both written and directed by Quentin Tarantino, based on a concept, of course, by Quentin and Uma that they came up with together. Music is curated by Quentin Tarantino, as in, oh man, the spelling mistakes on this is bad. I literally threw this together. But curated, of course, always by Quentin Tarantino, by various artists, including collaboration, some original, compositions by the RZA, like really, really short ones. The ones where she's like, I think they're like Crazy 88. They're during the Crazy 88.
Well, I think Twisted Nerve is too, like that.
I'm not.
I think
Is that? Oh yeah, is that him?
I think so.
Is that original? That's not like a theme song or something?
Oh, it's
There's
sampled.
one of
I
them
think
is
it's
like-
sampled.
Right. Okay. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh yeah, exactly. Yeah, there's like samples and that kind of thing. So stars Uma Thurman as the Bride, David Carradine as Bill, Lucy Liu, Vivica A. Fox, Michael Madsen, Daryl Hannah. I also have like a couple other names on the side here that I think are pretty important to highlight, which are, I don't think they're on the other slide. Gordon Liu, I don't know if I think it's Liu, Gordon Liu.
Yep.
And of course, Sonny Chiba.
Sonny
A
Chiba.
couple of kung fu legends that he pays homage to and also gets to have in his films. And that's why I was like, it was hard to choose because Sonny Chiba is in the first and Gordon Liu is in the second. He plays.
He's in both.
He's in both.
He's in both. He's in the
Is he in
Crazy
both?
88. Yeah, he's in the leader of the Crazy 88, and then he's
That makes sense. Yeah.
by May. Yeah, he's by
Yeah.
May in the second one.
And yeah, so like the reason why this is the top of my list is this film essentially for me growing up, I wasn't into Quentin Tarantino. I didn't touch the stuff until Kill Bill came out, and not even Kill Bill. I remember Volume 2 came out, and I was cramming Kill Bill on DVD at home with Matt, and he had been watching it all year. Over and over again, and then finally I decided that I wanted to crack into this, and before I could even see the one in theaters, I had to see the
That's right.
former
No,
part.
I did. I remember
So-
it was missing from my shelf, and I was like, "Where is it?" And it's in her bedroom.
Yeah. I remember
And-
this. I was in high school at the time, and I remember this. This I will stand by it. This is the foray of Tarantino into the mega mainstream. Like this was nominated for like MTV Movie Awards. It was parodied. It was spoofed.
Yeah.
Like the yellow suit was like iconic. Like it's been done. Bruce Lee, we know that. But for like me being in high school, and like I was in like grade 10 and 11, and this was a movie we snuck into, and we saw, and we traded, and like this is like the big where he went from like low auteur to like. His face is on the poster now, and everyone knows him.
Household name.
Household name is
Yeah.
like for sure Kill Bill, because this movie, like I said, this was like everywhere.
It was huge, and I happened to have missed the first breath of it and didn't catch on until the second. And so, yeah, my first Tarantino film seeing in theaters was Kill Bill Volume 2. I think I still have a few stubs from when I saw it. But, and I remember being traumatized, like sitting on the staircase, like watching Pulp Fiction while my parents, like the night that my parents had been to it. Like, because you don't want to know what's going on until the movie starts making noise, and the movie didn't start making noise until they started freaking out about her overdosing. So the stuff that I saw like from the staircase was like, so I just stayed away from Tarantino.
Yeah.
But then after that, it was just like a full-on breakthrough, and then I literally went home and was just like, okay, Matt, school me, like show me all of the films, like tell me everything about it. I need to know everything. But none of them really, because I kept falling asleep during Reservoir Dogs, none of them all like really summed up to be as cool as like Kill Bill was to me, because it was like this extremely like it's the Uma Thurman like badass kung fu samurai killer, but also like even Lucy Liu's character like takes on a really big chunk of the first film, like when it takes over as like the cartoon to show you like her whole background.
So cool.
That's like a full-on like these are the films that you go to see, and then like after you leave you feel cooler walking out of the theater, like you feel like you were maybe on the squad. I don't know, like that's just what's going through my mind. But anyways, yeah, so it's about, we all know what Kill Bill's about. It's about a professional killer who tries to get out of the business and does not succeed. She tries to go like start a life on her own, ends up getting killed by her former squad. And she essentially gets shot in the head.
She comes back to
and
life.
She comes back from the dead twice to seek revenge on the 5 people who put her in a coma and took 7 years from her life, and of course her daughter. She wakes up, she starts killing immediately, and in a way, of course, like the way Tarantino sets it up, it's like super cringe, but it's also like a just desserts. Like the moment she starts killing, you're just like, yes, you want her to like go for it, and it's almost like to a point of like cartoony with like the pussy wagon and all that stuff. But mainly, it was my introduction to Tarantino and who he was as a director, and the way that he pays homage to all of those, like the way that he pulled all of those elements from those, from all of like those action, Japanese like action films from like the 70s, and like the way that he pulled in Pai Mei's character from like the 36 Chambers of Shaolin. I remember the first time I saw that film. And that blew my mind when I was like, that's Pai Mei? Oh, I get it. Like you get to watch Pai Mei go through the ringer essentially in 36 Chambers. Like everything he puts the bride through, he goes through. And just like full circle completes my whole theme of just like this whole romanticism with like the mentorship and the breakaway, like the whole sort of like realizing I am good enough to be a killer. I can do this professionally. I have these skills, but I don't want to be using them to do these things anymore. I want to move on with my life. I want to be like a mother in this case, or I want to just be like a free woman in the case of Nikita. In the case of Matilda, it would be, of course, I want to get my education and see where I want to go from there. Mm-hmm. So it's just it hits it home for me in terms of like, seeking like mentorship and like honing your skills and then moving, like essentially growing out of a mentorship and into a better person. Just because, there's the hitman that continued, you know what I mean? Like, it just feels like the happy ending for the hitman for us is just like, you don't have to do that anymore. You can just retire. Don't worry about it. Like, take a load off.
Yeah, but she has like an incredible story arc, probably one of the best in film, and the fact that she's only fueled by revenge and rage, and like the cliffhanger at the first one, and then you get the backstory in the second, which is a totally different movie from the first one, and like the reviews are not as good because Tarantino gave you something different, which again, to be applauded. He doesn't do the same thing twice. He completely changes and shakes up the film. You introduce more Carradine, and then ultimately where she is at the end through her whole arc, rivals some of what Downey's done in the MCU in like 9 films that he's been in. You know what I mean? Like she did it in essentially 1, and her arc is just incredible once you get to where she is at the end.
Absolutely, yeah.
Just 2 things about it. Brittany talked about how she didn't know Quentin Tarantino's work until I showed it to her, and those roles got reversed not too long after she moved to London or whatever, and she showed me her Sonny Chiba box set. And she's like, watch this. And then showed me all of the
Street
things
Fighter.
that Quentin would take from the Sonny Chiba line. And it's like, this is where he got that from.
Sister Street Fighter.
Yeah,
that's
it's all there. It's all there.
And the one thing that I always sit and think about when thinking about those movies, Kill Bill movies, is Michael Madsen's character Bud.
Yeah,
you don't get a backstory for him. I mean, of course, he was an assassin. He's part of that squad. But how good
Bill's
was
brother.
he? Yeah, he's Bill's brother. He has his own Hanzo sword.
About
He
all
must
he is.
know how to use it.
Well, he also bests her, right? He gets it, he for all of his bumbling and like goofballiness, he gets the better of her, right? And basically buries her. So
Yeah,
I mean,
well, he's never not been good at what he does. He's just
but at some
taking
point
himself off the
in his
table. He just
career,
doesn't
he
do it.
obviously retired
yeah,
and decided he's going to go be a bouncer and janitor at a strip club.
yeah,
This guy is a lethal weapon, and
yeah.
he's
Sounds
doing this
like
with
art
his-
imitating life with
There's-
Madsen.
taking shit from the
He
club
has,
owner.
you can tell, but at that point in his life, at that point in his retirement, he has a complex. Like he feels like he deserves to be treated like dirt.
Yeah,
So
I think he
got
killed a
job,
kid or something.
and so that's why he takes that like
Well,
from his boss,
he
because like,
he talks about his guilt for killing.
and he says we deserve to die.
we deserve to die for what we did.
Yeah.
So
The funny part, like the ironic part, is like, yeah, how excited he was to get out once he had all that cash for just like a second.
Oh yeah.
He thought he was above it,
For
and
that
yeah, he
Hanzo
thought he
sword.
was clear for a sec.
Oh yeah.
But I agree. Yeah, Michael Madsen is like he's a bit of a
love Michael
in
Madsen.
that film.
All right, Matt, what do you got? Number one.
My number one is a favorite film of mine. It echoes part of the guilty pleasure list I did, in that it stars Matthew Perry. The Whole Nine Yards is my number one.
That's
I
fun.
knew it. Thank you.
Awesome.
Hitman,
I thought this was
Hitman,
like
Hit Woman.
an honorable.
There's 1,000 people trying to kill each other in this movie, including Rosanna Arquette's not on the poster, but she plays Matthew Perry's wife, who has hired a hit person already to try to kill him, and ends up being his receptionist. He's a dentist, and her cover is to be his hygienist, and then she was going to kill him, but she felt she liked the guy, so she couldn't do it. That's Amanda Peet. Later, Bruce Willis moves into the neighborhood, who is a very well-known contract killer for the Gogalat gang, and he just wants, like many of these movies we talked about, he's retired. He wants to just live, a quiet life in Montreal. What is it? Perry's wife, Rosanna Arquette, says, "We know who he is. Let's go tell the Gogolats where he is, and we'll collect the reward." He goes out to Chicago, I think. There we get to meet Michael Clark Duncan, who is another hitman, and he brings him back to Montreal with Bruce Willis, Jimmy the Tulips Tedeschi. They all become buddies. Everybody is out to kill somebody except Matthew Perry, and he's just stuck in this, I don't know, this group of people. He falls in love with Bruce Willis's ex-wife, and now, he wants to kill him for that. In the end, they figure out a plan that will keep mostly everyone alive and off the radar of the Gogolat gang. This was, during Matthew Perry's huge run on Friends, of course, and he's just Chandler Binging all over this movie as well, which makes it one of my favorites. Again, it's another one. I think like 4 of the movies on my list were like TBS standards for like 2 years, so I watched them over and over and over again. This one I've watched a million times. It's got some of my favorite physical comedy bits from Matthew Perry. The Whole Nine Yards is my number one.
It's fun. I was in grade 8 when this movie came out, and I loved this movie too. This is a really fun, like
funny.
a fun action, like around like analyze this, and this came out pretty close to one another, and just like the same kind of formula. You get the manic doctor who mixes up with the tough guy, and then he gets brought in. It's a classic formula, but of like the Matthew Perry starring vehicles, this is probably the best, like of his like movies that he did. This is great. It got the sequel too, but no, you had a great with 9, and then they had a relationship because Bruce came back for free on Friends. So that just, it shows. That's cool. It's a great choice.
All right, Scott.
Scott,
Cool.
you're number 1.
Okay, I was going back. My number 1 is one I've been wanting to work on a list for a while, and it's one of my personal favorite films. It's a classic, like Scott pick in the sense, like I really like how this list is shaping up because we're all getting different, little films that echo and reflect our personalities. And my number 1 takes all the main stuff from some great filmmakers, and it's equal parts Tarantino, Coen Brothers, Guy Ritchie, and if you mix it in a blender and poured a sauce of Hitchcock over it, Hitchcock's favorite thing being Mistaken Identity. And my number 1 is Lucky Number 11.
I knew it. I knew it.
I love Lucky Number 11. I watched it today too. What an enjoyable 100 minutes. This movie sings. This movie flies.
100.
This is put together. Have we all seen it?
Yep.
Okay,
Yeah.
perfect. I sang this movie's praises. I was in high school or the first year of university around this time, and I remember telling V and Matt, this movie looks amazing. This movie looks amazing. The trailers do not do it justice. It is a very fun crime caper, mixed identity. If we did a revenge show, this would probably fit better. It wouldn't be my 1. I knew I could use it here because Bruce Willis, funny enough, playing another hitman. My movie also starring Lucy Liu. So that's funny. I have 2 from your number 1s as well in this. But of this movie, it's Josh Hartnett. It's the leading man, Josh Hartnett, which you don't see much anymore. And he plays, a guy who's mixed up in the wrong situation. And there's 2 rival mob bosses played by Morgan Freeman and Ben Kingsley. So at this time, these guys are 2 megastars in this. This cast is great. This cast is loaded. And Hartnett's caught in the middle, and you got to find out how the mobsters, they have a rivalry, and how does Bruce Willis tie into this movie, being the contract killer. And slowly, like I said, it's got shades of Tarantino and the Coen brothers, and razor sharp dialogue through it. A great like veneer look to it. There's stylized flashbacks, and as you dive deeper into the movie without giving it, there's different subtle things that the director Paul McGuiran doesn't do many movies. He did Wicker Park, and hasn't done a movie in about 7 years. I think he went back to Europe. His last movie being like that Victor Frankenstein movie. But he does things where once, the flashback's true, he uses this color tint. And once you watch it and something's being told is a lie, it's in that color tint. So you get something more each time. And as the seeds are planted, and they're planted in a really smart way. So again, for what this movie, like I said, when I sang the praises when it came out, I watched it again today, and I couldn't take my eyes off it. I put it on while I work and I watch, and it's an incredibly fun movie that, like I said, Hitchcock would be proud of. There's a scene in it that they reference North by Northwest, and it's between Kingsley and Hartnett. It's an electric conversation discussing that movie because you can tell that movie was influenced over this movie. Like I said, how the hitman, how Kingsley, or how Bruce Willis and how Hartnett ties to the whole story, who Slevin Kalevra is and what that all means is an incredible. And right at the end, there's twist. And for me being like, 19 when I saw this movie, this is the coolest thing in the world. So like I said, for a movie that holds up and a little bit under the radar, my number 1, Hitman Movies, which I've wanted to put somewhere, and I'm happy to finally talk about, is Lucky Number 11.
Yeah, I think I saw this with Mike. We saw this in theater, and it blew us away. Especially, like you said, the twist, and they really, by the end of it, you did like you cannot see it coming, right?
Yeah, and it's so well done. It's so noir, it's noir, but it's hip, but it's like super modern. And like I said, I know Matt Martinuzzi did not want to see this movie. He got a free movie pass from a poker tournament. I think we were playing a poker tournament at a restaurant, and he got a free movie pass. So he's like, "Oh, I'll use it on this." And I still, to this day, we still kind of quote it. I sent him one scene that he quotes quite a bit. And he laughed. And I was like, man, you hate it on the trailers. And like I said, I remember flying the flag of this movie, telling everyone about it, being really happy. It seemed like the biggest deal of my life at the time. Like there was big stars in this movie. And like I said, I'm glad that you guys liked it too. So it's one that if you hadn't seen, it's cool, man. It's like I said, Tarantino, Coen Brothers, Guy Ritchie, and Hitchcock put together and served for like the millennial generation.
There's the one thing about the movie that will stick with me forever is the ending. In the poster, you saw Morgan Freeman and Ben Kingsley. They play rival crime bosses, and I hate to ruin the ending, but at the end,
You know, me too. It's my one.
At the end, they're both dying.
Yeah,
and they're like tied to chair. They're tied back to back on chairs or whatever, and they're both dying at the same time. And I forget which one it is. I think it might be Ben Kingsley, who is waiting for Morgan Freeman to die just so he could, die last. Like, I outlived you. Now I can die.
Yeah, but like even that scene too, when you get to it and you get how the cards all fall, that's incredible stuff. And you get the flashbacks in this and why they're ultimately targeted and what happened, and you see the things with his ring and his gun and how it's sets up little nuanced stuff with the baseball. There's a lot in this movie, and I implore you, even if you haven't, there's some YouTube videos that dissect and break it all down that I even watched today and was like, oh shoot, this movie's a lot smarter than I think, society ever probably gave it credit for. So
And another moment, there's been a little bit of James Bond talk in this movie, and in that one there's quite a bit of James Bond talk in that one as well.
Yeah, they talk about their bonds and who's the best Blofeld, and
for sure.
AB,
all right. So you're talking about your obsession. My obsession for this next one is to the nth degree. This I've been, trying to figure a way to work this on this, and when this came up, I was like, bingo, this is it. This has been an obsession of mine for quite some time. Actually, before I bring up the screen there, I'll bring up my props. I brought more props for this one. So this is. I think I gave you crap for cheating for having 2 for your number 1. I actually have 6 for my number 1.
As soon as I saw you said it was,
I have 6 for my number 1. This is Lone Wolf and Cub, based on this manga. It's got comic book. Oh, it's upside down. Comic books. It's the Criterion with the 6.
I have that one.
6 thing. This is an obsession of mine. I am obsessed with this series, both in comic form and in movie form. Lone Wolf and Cub, the manga was written by Kazu Kayoki, and he also wrote the screenplay for the movies as well. And so this came out in 1972, directed by Kenji Masaumi. And it is the story of Agami Ito, who was the executioner for the shogunate. And so what that means is that this is the baddest dude on all the kingdom. He basically carries out the official executions, because he is the most badass guy. And so anytime there's guys that need to be killed, he's the guy to do it. And so there is a rival clan who is jealous of his position, and they set him up to what's called blaspheme the shogunate. And I won't get into that, but they set him up so that the shogunate thinks that he's turned on them, and so they go and they kill his whole clan, all of his family, except for him and his infant son Daigoro. And there you see Daigoro and anything, and he's one of the most cutest kids you'll ever see. And so Ogami decides then and there that he is going to, how he says, walk the path of the demon. And what that means is that he's going to give up his the way of the samurai, and he is going to be an assassin. He's going to basically walk the earth with him and his son in the baby cart. And there's an illustrated thing. He walks around with this baby cart with his son, and he is known as Lone Wolf and Cub. There's the assassin is Lone Wolf and Cub, and he's got a bunch of tricks and like stuff going on in the cart itself. Daigoro gets into some of the stuff and some of the kills. And so he goes around and is hired out as an assassin, but he also helps people along the way too. It's kind of almost like kung fu, where he's walking the earth and helps people, and takes care of people. There's a really touching scene and kind of a weird scene where this crazy woman who's lost her child thinks that every child that she sees is her child, and so she wants to breastfeed Daigoro. And so like she's breastfeeding Ogami's child, and he's kind of like, oh, what's that about? And so this woman explains the situation, and she's like, here, I'll pay you. And he's like, no, it's okay, Daigoro was hungry anyways. And so like this it's just a fantastic series. It was filmed, basically the 6 films were basically filmed within a few years, all within like I want to say a 4 or 5 year period. All came out one after another. For my money, the best one is the second one, Baby Cart at the River Styx. But the first one is called Sword of Vengeance, which is one I'm going to use for my thing because it introduces the characters, introduces the situation, and he basically is like, his end game is to take out this other clan and to take out this other clan leader who set him up and destroyed his life, and seeks vengeance on that, and all the while makes gold by taking people out, taking out things. And so each movie ups the ante as far as like people he fights. I think in the last one he fights, in the end scene he fights like, I want to say like 150 guys just on his own and the cart. And so it's funny because Kill Bill was inspired by this, because when you think of Kill Bill and the gratuitous blood spatter, Lone Wolf and Cub is one of the original ones that did that, where the geysers of blood and the overextended blood situation. And then Road to Perdition, like I said for years, Scott, is based on Lone Wolf and Cub.
Yeah, as soon as you said that, I had the
graphic,
Wikipedia. I know how much you love this, so I didn't know it was movies. That's great. That's cool. You learn something new every day.
The two movies put together, like I'm just reading online, they are Shogun Assassin.
Shogun
Assassin.
It was the it was to the two movies that were edited together, which is kind of weird, but then when you watch it, it really works. And so it was made as Shogun Assassin for basically North American audiences. And so the way I found out about this is also through Wu-Tang, because there are a ton of sound clips within the Wu-Tang albums that are directly from Shogun Assassin.
Yeah.
And so like the whole opening to Liquid Swords by GZA album is the beginning of Shogun Assassin. And so that's like Wu-Tang turned me on to this kind of stuff in college, and like I became super obsessed over it. And so like I have all 28 of these guys. I have all the comics, I think it's 45 comics. I've got everything. I mean, my COVID mask is Lone Wolf and Cub.
Oh, that's right. Yeah,
I'm a little bit obsessed, but I love it. I just love that idea that, again, of someone who lives by code, even though he's walking the way of the demon, he is taking care of his infant son the whole while, and on top of that, helping women and like orphans and women along the way. He can't escape that code, the samurai code, even though he's denounced it. He's still, that's it, just part of who he is, and he can't escape that. And so yeah, I love Lone Wolf and Cub. So that is my number one. I'm so glad to finally get it on.
I'm happy for that, and I'm glad that each of our number ones reflect so much of our personality. That's awesome. I'm really happy.
For anyone who was who felt like that story sounded familiar, and you have Disney Plus, yes, it's The Mandalorian as well.
Exactly. Yes. That's right. The Mandalorian is also huge, and then the scene, the episode with what's her face, Ahsoka. The episode where they introduce Ahsoka is all like humongously Japanese and cinema influenced, and the whole village and like the village and the whole
and
like
it's Robert. I think Robert Rodriguez might have, and he's like super into that, of course.
Oh man! So when I watched that episode, I was like, oh man, just in heaven, because it was all
exactly what you said. I mean, it wasn't the first, but it definitely brought it to new heights. And like you said, Mandalorian. You can go through Logan, Pedro Pascal's next,
Logan. That's right.
Last of Us. Last of Us is one of the biggest games of all time, and that's exactly what it's. It's the same thing. It's a cycle. It rhymes.
So yeah,
cool.
It all comes down to Lone Wolf and Cub. All right, so
amazing,
wonderful.
That's the end of our top 5 Hitman films. It is not the end of this episode, though. We do, however, want to know what your top 5 Hitman and Assassin films are. Please write them down in the comments. But at this point, we are going to do a Mack Flash draft. And of course, it would not be a draft without our biggest sports fan ever. Jersey Jim is here with us.
What is that?
The whale.
What's up, homie?
Can you guys hear me today?
Yes, God, yes.
100%.
I'm good.
Love the jersey. Yeah.
Thank you.
Jim, that's Matt's sister, Brittany.
This is my sister, Brittany.
Nice to
Hi,
meet you,
Jim.
Brittany,
Brittany.
this is Jim.
Nice to meet you.
Oh, and I
I
gotta
hope
bring
I can
up.
keep up with you guys on this.
Yep. Now, for anyone
I-
who hasn't seen, I had it up earlier. We're just gonna review who won the last draft.
Oh, I'm sure we are.
Where is it? I had it up the entire time until now.
Where does the draft get posted? When
It gets posted
Mack
on
Flash
Mack Flash
Facebook.
Entertainment
Yes.
Facebook page.
Okay, so that's
Our
where you can,
last one
cast your votes.
Was for Steven Spielberg movies,
Okay.
and the score with 30 votes for the entirety. Jim got 4.
Boo.
AB got 5.
Also, boo.
Scott got 9, and I won with 12.
Very nice.
What was in the running for 12 that got 12 points?
Mine was the E.T., Indiana Jones and Last Crusade, Hook, Ready Player One, and The Adventures of Tintin.
Yeah, it was good. I'm glad you did. I was too top heavy on my one. Jurassic. I relied way too much on that. And I went Prestige later, but they're not too mainstream. So good stuff. That was a good one.
Now, for this one, we have 4 categories.
Okay, and I will bring up the.
Oops, I had it. It's up. AB's got the randomizer in.
For our baseball movies, sequels, movies featuring an SCTV alumnus, and Keanu Reeves films.
All right, you ready for it?
So
Here
that's
we go.
what's on track tonight. What are we doing tonight, boys and girl? Wow,
Sequels.
energy. This is huge. This
Oh my
was
gosh.
massive. Okay. So then we got to go for who's picking 1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
Okay.
But I'll keep track of it, guys.
Okay, hold on. I'll put them in here.
Sequels. We're gonna put together a sequel list. This is insane. I have 40 written down, and my 40 is like a big one.
Oops.
Okay.
Am I still sharing here?
Yep.
Yep, it's up.
Okay, here we go.
So this is for first overall pick.
Yeah.
First overall pick in the sequels draft will go to Matt Robbins.
Ooh, excellent. I don't have to move.
Okay. Move that guy.
Move. Second overall pick. Go to Jim.
Jim.
Yes.
Okay.
Confetti, confetti.
Right smack dab in the middle, this guy.
Okay.
Okay.
So for fourth,
Thought I'd be last.
It's a snake
Kinda
draft,
wanted
so
to
if
be
you get
last.
2 in a row, if you're last.
yeah, we'll explain.
Oh no! Yeah, Matt explained it. I'm just being
Oh, is that Brittany? I go fifth?
Yep.
Okay.
So that's the order.
Okay. And we're each going to draft 5.
Yep.
Okay.
Ooh.
Time.
Okay.
Sorry, am I allowed to
this is
swear
gonna be
like
crazy.
hard?
Yeah, you can drop
Not,
an F-bomb.
not often, just yeah.
Okay. My first pick in sequel films is The Empire Strikes Back.
Okay.
Okay, cool.
My first pick is Terminator 2 Judgment Day.
That was a combine legend.
Oh yeah.
Overperformed.
All right. My first pick is Avengers Endgame.
Yeah. There it is. Scratch that one off. Britt.
Oh, it's me? Oh,
Yep.
sorry. Okay. My first pick is Shrek 2.
Okay.
I'm going to follow it up with the only sequel to win Best Picture, Godfather Part 2.
Yes.
Bringing it back around with not my favorites, but the internet's sure going to love The Dark Knight.
Yes.
Yep.
The internet sure loves it.
Britt, your second pick?
Oh, great. Okay, so then my second pick would be I'm going to go with D2, The Mighty Ducks.
Mighty Ducks.
Oh yeah.
This is-
Very good.
You're
You know what?
big high motor guys you're drafting here. Big high motor, we're like weight room rats.
Okay.
It's a good sequel.
I'm going to go with Harry Potter and the Order of the Phoenix.
Ooh.
Wow, Order of the
Wow.
Phoenix. Wow.
Like
yeah,
Des-
of all the ones you could pick.
like Dustman's, I'm going with a Batman movie, but I am going with the Burton Batmans. I'm going with Batman Returns.
That
They're
was
at
gonna
number
be-
40.
That was going to be my third right there. Okay. My number 2 to end round number 2 is Aliens.
Oh, you son of a gun.
Yeah.
Son of a gun. You did that to spite me.
Absolutely. My third pick is Back to the Future Part 2.
Yeah, I knew it. Yeah.
Okay.
Good
Jimbo.
one. Good one. I am going to go with Creed 2.
Okay. All right. Well, seeing as you stole my Aliens with my number 3 pick, I'm going to take Star Trek 2: Wrath of Khan.
Yeah, you better.
Can't believe my number 4 is still on the board.
I believe mine will be on the board forever. You guys aren't touching these. It's me now?
Yep.
Okay, and this is number 3?
Yep.
I'm going to go with An American Tale.
Oh, that was going to be my sneak number 5.
Sorry, I stole it.
So I am giddy to get my draft card in and accept Skyfall.
Sure.
And my follow up is going to be, what do I got? 3 to choose from that I really want here. I'm going to go with Bad Boys 2.
Very good. Okay.
You're picking number
Yeah, so
4, right?
4. Yeah, I have the Rescuers Down Under.
Great.
I am going to go with Toy Story Tree.
Yeah, that was,
Yes.
I already
Yep.
took it. That
You
was
better.
I chose
What?
Bad Boys 2 over it. But because I'm like, I just had Toy Story 3 when I blew you all the way in animated. It's not fair.
I am going to go with Die Hard with a Vengeance.
Very good.
Oh, okay. Okay.
That's
Ooh.
good. That's pretty good.
Someone's beating bullets there.
Yeah. So this would be my 4 and 5. My number 4 is going to be Rocky 4.
You're
My number
definitely playing to
5.
an older crowd. And that's what I'm saying. I see your strategy.
Yeah.
You're, like, that's really...
My number 5 is going to be Army of Darkness.
Man, just daggering me. Just daggering me. Oh man. You dog.
Okay, so quick question: would Bond qualify for this? Any Bond
We
movie?
talked about
Well, you
this.
already
Yeah,
took
I'm sure for the
Skyfall.
most part. Yeah, I took Skyfall because that's a direct sequel. So I guess they all kind of count except Casino Royale.
Okay,
They're all essentially sequels. So go for it. What do you want?
then I will take Goldfinger. Then.
Yeah, that's definitely a sequel then.
Okay. And this is my Homer pick, even though I think Mad Max Fury Road.
Man, that was my like 13. I would that is not a Homer pick.
No, I know, but I'm saying that there are two massive ones that I left off the board there that I didn't pick over that. Basically, my 3 and 4.
Yeah.
Britt?
Okay.
Your number 5.
Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles 2.
2.
Okay.
Secret of the Ooze.
Secret of the Ooze.
And I'm gonna finish this up. Oh gosh, there's a few big ones. So I'm gonna finish it up with. We got a lot of action here. I'm gonna take Mission Impossible: Ghost Protocol, and trying to think, and I'll finish it. Gosh, there's a few here. I'll finish it with. Sorry, guys. I just
Take your
don't.
time.
Yeah, Fast 5. Cool.
That
that's
one?
it.
Shouldn't it end with you picking one at the end?
No.
What's your list?
Oh, MI5. Sorry. So yeah. So Mission Impossible. That's perfect. Yeah. So
Okay.
no, I 5. So forget about Fast 5 then. So
Yeah.
the last one's Mission Impossible: Ghost Protocol.
Yeah. Because I was like, they should
Yeah.
just end with you,
Cool.
man.
Awesome.
No LOTR.
Yeah, I had ranked
Indiana-
really low.
No Indiana Jones.
I know.
Well,
No
the sequels
Spider-Man
aren't as good as the
2.
original.
You took
You know
them all
what?
last week.
I had them all written. They're all
I
still
forgot
here.
that I had like 2 lists drafted, like 2 lists of 5 drafted,
Yeah.
and I left one aside. The first one, I couldn't remember what they were because they were like drafted in my head, and one of them was like animated kids movies, and the other one was Keanu in sequels, and I just totally blanked, and I fucking wish I did Keanu in sequels
Yeah.
Oh man.
That's awesome, guys. You got some good
instead,
lists here.
but
I'm
because I'm pretty
excited.
sure I
I'm
could fill 5
excited.
spots. But anyways, yeah.
I'm excited about that list.
I
So
know.
that's
Even though I've got stuff I hate on there, it like I don't hate, but like
Your list is
Wrath of
really
God-
good. I did Toy Story 3. I wish I got. I took Bad Boys 2 over it. I probably could have gotten Bad Boys 2 later,
I
but
wanted to diversify my portfolio.
I know. But and Matt's speed. I don't know. It's between you or Matt. Matt has like a lot of like the older crowd's going to look at that.
I think Brittany's taking it. I think everyone's going to be like, I loved all of those movies
The
growing
family
up.
movies,
I'm
yeah.
picking this.
Well, just based
I-
on the animated one. Animated one just got the most like clicks already, and
Yeah.
so
That gets people's votes.
We'll see.
Oh,
I just wanted
yeah.
to keep it cohesive and in a pool of things that I knew that you wouldn't touch. So
That's true. That's very
very
good.
true.
apart from 5 will go. I knew 5. I'm sorry. I knew that was going to hurt you.
That was going to be my number
That's what-
5.
that's
I was
literally one of
nobody
his favorite
remembers
movies.
that one. I'm going
I
to
do.
win with
She
that.
is probably going to win with D2 and that. People are going to go nuts.
I can't wait to see what's up. I can't wait to see how it goes. It should be interesting.
So
Cool.
that's going to end the draft for today. That's going to end the episode for the week. We'll see you guys next time. Thanks everyone for watching. I'm Matt. That's Jim. AB. Brittany. She'll be back in a future episode. Scott. He's always with us. Thanks everybody. We'll see you next time.